From Dateline marathons to murder podcasts, people can't seem to get enough. So why is that? Dr. Scott Bonn has spent his career profiling and interacting with some of the most notorious killers of all time, offering unique insights into their psychopathic minds and behaviors. Bonn is the author of Why We Love Serial Killers, Curious Appeal of the World's Savage Murderers. He also provides expert commentary and analysis for several high-profile true crime TV shows and documentaries. And he's joining us this morning to tell us more about his upcoming one-man show at Packard Music Hall this weekend. Good morning, Dr. Bonn.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So I just want to know, what led you to become a criminologist?
Well, great question. I've always been fascinated by human behavior, both the good and the bad. But in particular, I'm fascinated by what draws people to the dark side to do absolutely horrendous, diabolical, despicable things, particularly to complete strangers. I find that fascinating, disturbing, and very compelling.
Yeah, so I want to know, when you studied serial killers, did you find evidence that they were, born this way? Is it nature or nurture?
Well, it's both. Serial killers, about 80% of them are either psychopaths or sociopaths, and these are antisocial personality disorders, but they are originating from two different sources. A psychopath is born. They are a function of nature. They are born with a brain that is simply wired differently at birth than a normal human brain. They don't have impulse control. They can't feel a normal range of emotions like remorse, pity, shame, guilt, even fear, which is why they can be such cold-blooded killing machines like a Ted Bundy. Now, a sociopath is a function of nurture. They are transformed or conditioned, socialized, hence the term sociopath, into predatory behavior, normally because they have been victims of predatory behavior themselves, abuse, neglect, torture, torment in their youth. So they become conditioned into predatory behavior. So it really is a function of both nature and nurture, depending upon psychopath versus sociopath.
That's very interesting. Now, what's the difference between mass murderers and serial killers?
Well, I talk about both in my show, but a mass murderer, which is typically today in our current society, we think of these mass public shootings, these terrible one-time events. So a mass killer, a mass shooter, is someone who is acting out one time in an event that typically ends in their own death. More than 50% of the time, a mass killer will also die at the scene, either at their own hand or suicide by cop, dying there as a result of being killed, at the crime scene. But this is a one-time event, whereas a serial killer is someone who has a hunger, a visceral psychological need to kill again and again and again. So they don't want to die at the scene of the crime. They want to live to kill another day because it is the thing that gives them their ultimate satisfaction.
And a few seconds left. Who's mostly in the crowd for these Q&A sessions? Men, women, a little bit of both?
Well, it is both, but it's largely women, about 75%. And I think that has to do with empathy. Women empathize with the victims, and I believe they also seek to understand the perpetrator, the predator, who may be in their life in a social way. A woman recently said to me, I don't want to be the victim of the next Ted Bundy, but I certainly don't want to date or marry him either. So I think women are particularly interested in self-protection and looking for ways to identify possible perpetrators.
Wow, that's so interesting. And there's so much more you have to offer. So tell us, where can we go about getting tickets? Give us the date and time of your show.
Absolutely. Well, it is this Saturday, February 8th at Packard Music Hall at 7 p.m. And you can go to packardmusichall.com and look for my event, Serial Killers with Dr. Scott Bonn, once again, February 8th. And good tickets, I understand, are still available. And I look forward to meeting true crime fans this weekend.
All right, grab your tickets today. Dr. Bonn, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Have a great day.
Thank you.